officially announced that there would be 5 books in the Woven Kingdom series. I confirmed that again online right? So more there. Oh, and also the next book is coming out. Book 4 is coming out next year. So more information on that soon. And a couple of people also asked, like, will it be a book a year? Yes, it will be a book a year. That is always the trajectory. Unless there are some unforeseen circumstances that crop up, that is, for the most part, exactly how it's going to go. So, okay. There are so many questions here. I actually haven't even had a chance to finish going through all of them because there are hundreds and hundreds of questions, but I tried to go through as many of them as I could, and I have to be honest with you guys, half of them, actually it might be more than half of them, are questions asking me if I'm going to write more Shatter Me books, and yeah, so sorry, I was just trying to read your comments, and I think a couple of them are coming in out of context, so it's a little confusing. But anyway, a lot of people want to know if I'm going to write more Shatter Me books, and I just wanted to say, look, in the past I have said, look, I'm done with the Shatter Me series a number of times, and I'm just never going to say that again because it's a fun world to play in, and I love these characters, and so, you know, I'm never going to say never, ever again. Because it might happen, and yeah, so that's all I can say right now. And yeah, okay. So what does your writing process look like when you are starting a new story? How do you go about it? This question is from Bella. My writing process when I'm starting a new story is, I don't know, there's a lot of incubating of an idea. I think a lot, I read a lot, I listen to music. I try to think about characters and who they are and what their motivations are before I really start writing a book, because I can be inspired by a world, but I really need to know who the characters are and what their motivations are and what they need, what story I'm telling for them before I can really get started. So I think about characters a lot. I definitely approach story from the inside out because for me, the heartbeat of a story is everything, and I need to know what those emotional beats are. What is your favorite part about writing a book, or do you like the whole process? This question is from Maddie. I think my favorite part of writing a book is the part where no one's read it yet because it feels very secret and special, and you know, it feels like it's that private moment when the book hasn't really come to life yet. And I basically just share it with my husband, who's my first reader. And I tell him, you know, I'm like, tell me that this is great, tell me to keep going. And so I'm getting a lot of really positive feedback. And he's really sweet. And it's a really nice, fun, private time to be building a world and meeting these new characters. Oh, I just saw Ransom. Yes, I am married. Somebody says, wait, you are married. Yes, I am married. I am married to a fellow writer, Ransom Riggs, and he is wonderful. And okay, sorry, I haven't done this in so long. It's very hard to stay focused on the questions because you guys are talking to me in real time, so I feel like I'm ignoring you. And I just want you to know I am not ignoring you. Thank you for being here. Really happy that this was able to work out. Okay. I've also gotten a lot of questions from people asking if I'm going to write more books, just like in general. More books after the Woven Kingdom books, more books, you know, full stop. And yes, of course, I hope for as long as I am able to continue writing books, I will continue writing books. And yeah, so lots and lots of plans and lots of thoughts there, and just like a million stories I would love to write, but not always enough time. But yes, I do absolutely to keep writing books, and hopefully more books, even after Woven Kingdom. There are some questions here about the Woven Kingdom series that I'm trying, some of them I want to answer, and some of them I want to be really careful about answering because they're a little bit spoilery. So I think that this one is probably okay. This question is from Krista. It says, how did you get the idea of the world structure of this Woven Kingdom? Where did you get the idea of Cyrus being in debt to the devil and showing that in those last couple chapters of All This Twisted Glory? So I feel like this is not a spoiler because it's in the first book in a very like big way, like this, you know, the devil plays a big part, and I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say that the character Cyrus is in debt to the devil. But you do see this evolve a little bit more in All This Twisted Glory, and you see this especially in the last couple chapters. So where did I get that idea? I don't know. I think that it's probably a metaphor. The thing is that sometimes I don't totally understand what I'm writing or why I'm writing something for a couple of years, and then things sort of become very apparent to me. But I do think that I am processing the world at large, out like the greater world, and my own interior world whenever I'm writing a book. And I'm filtering through my own feelings and emotions, and you know, I think a deal with the devil is a pretty big metaphor. I think there are a lot of people in this world who sometimes intentionally make a metaphorical deal with the devil in order to get ahead in life, or unintentionally make a deal with the devil because they think a metaphorical deal with the devil because they think that it's the only way. And I mean, I think the point of this story is never make a deal with the devil because you will never win. So this is going to be a very emotional, turbulent, intense, I hope deliciously agonizing ride through emotional hell for most of these characters, but don't worry. I mean, you know, I won't leave you guys feeling bad. That I will not end the series on a downer note. That's not a spoiler. It's just not who I am. I would never I just couldn't, as a reader, oh my gosh, if I get really invested in a series and the characters I love, and just for them to all end up miserable and tortured with no happiness whatsoever. I mean, that's enough I would be so upset. I just think the world is dark enough as it is, and we escape into fantasy and fiction for release and relief and, you know, proof that our pain means something and can mean something. So, you'll always get that from me. Okay, I'm clearly taking too long to answer questions. How do you feel you've evolved in relation to Shatter Me now in this Woven Kingdom? This question is from Juliana. I'm assuming she means, how do I feel I've evolved as a writer? Some of your questions are so funny. I'm seeing them coming through. I mean, God, I hope I've evolved as a writer. I wrote Shatter Me when I was 21, and that was, I don't know, I can't do math. I'm 36, so that was a long time, 15 years. That was a long time ago, and I really hope that I am a better writer today than I was then. I just hope that's the trajectory. But I think it's also about more than just like the actual writing on the page. I think that I have evolved as a person, not just as a writer, but I think that the two are totally interwoven, at least for me. I've changed so much. I hope to God that at 36 I'm not the same person I was at 21. My life has changed in so many ways. I've grown up in so many ways, and you carry those experiences with you. You carry those feelings and those evolutions with you onto the page, I suppose. So I definitely think I've changed. I hope for the better as a person, and I hope my writing has evolved. I hope it's become a little more. I hope it's better. Who knows? But I certainly try to improve with every book that I write. Somebody wants to know, Ellie wants to know, would you ever do an event in London or in the UK? It would be so wonderful to meet you. I'm such a fan of your work. Thank you, Ellie. That is so sweet. I would love to meet you too. I would love to come to the UK. Actually, we are trying to sort that out. It's just very hard scheduling wise to do international tours. I'm just very, very, very busy, not just work wise, but life wise. And it's very hard to leave my kid, when I have to leave for long trips. And so I try to take her with me if I can, but then that requires like a whole other set of logistical efforts. So we will see. I'm trying to make it work. I would love to come out and see you guys in the UK and elsewhere. I always try to make it work. I try to make a couple of international territories work every year. So fingers crossed. Yes, I have a kid. She is 6.5. I have a girl. She is 6.5 years old. And I love her. She's amazing. So anyway, I try to spend whatever time I'm not spending writing, I try to spend with my family because I like them so much. I love them so much. So I'm very, very greedy, and I want to spend all my time with them. Okay. So Caddy could be Katie. It's Kattie, so 2 T's there. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She says, "Hi, I'm trying to write a book, but some days I feel like I'm a terrible writer. How do you deal with days like that?" Thank you. I'd love to be able to tell you that those days just disappear, but they do not. I regularly feel like a terrible writer. It's just, I don't know. Some people have this extraordinary confidence about all kinds of things. I don't know that I've really seen this in the writer community. I think we're all pretty hard on ourselves. But, you have good days, you have bad days. I definitely feel really good about myself as a writer when I'm in that like safe space where I haven't shared anything with anyone yet. But if it percolates for too long, if the writing sits for too long, then I start getting in my own head about it, and I'm like, oh, is this terrible? So, I sometimes I take heart, and I like to remember that other writers who I admire tremendously, writers who I think are like absolute geniuses, they also used to think they were terrible writers. So I find that very comforting, and it just reminds me that we're all really hard on ourselves. And I think that sometimes somebody says, I am sorry for being rude to you years ago when we met. I was not in a good headspace. I don't remember that. I don't think that you were rude to me, because if you were rude to me, I would have remembered somebody being rude to me. And I just want you to know that there's nothing to worry about. We're cool. No problem. Anyway, sometimes I feel like a terrible writer, but that's okay. I actually think that's part of the process of being a writer. You know, stay humble. It's not such a bad thing. Let's see. How did you feel once you finished writing the Shatter Me series, and did it make any impact on your current life? This question is from Joya. Yes, absolutely. I mean, Shatter Me changed my life. That was my debut novel, and it just totally and completely changed my life in a million ways. And that would be like its own Instagram live if I were to talk about all the ways in which those books changed my life. So yes, big time. Somebody says, will the next This Woven Kingdom book, Haveria, or maybe Javeria, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Will the next This Woven Kingdom book be more spicy than the last one? Maybe. There's only so much I can say. The book just came out, so I don't want to allude to anything too spoilery here. Okay, lots and lots and lots of questions about a TV or film adaptation of the Shatter Me series. Some people ask what's happening with the Shatter Me series adaptation, and some people are asking, what would you say if you were approached with a television adaptation of the Shatter Me series? So I've been asked this question a lot, and I've answered it many times, but I totally understand if you're not always online when I'm answering this question, so I'm happy to answer it again. So the Shatter Me series has been through a lot as far as adaptations go. It was a long time ago adapted or optioned for film, and then that fell through, and then it was later optioned for television, and then that actually moved forward a great deal. And then we lost our producer, and our executive producer moved elsewhere, moved to a different company, and so we sort of lost our champion, and it sort of fizzled out. But we had a great screenwriter, and we had a great screenplay, and it was really seemed to be something seemed to be happening there, and then it fell apart. And that was a long time ago. But now I think much more protective of the books than I did then. And I feel a lot more cautious about the idea of optioning it again. I'd need to be really, really careful, I think it would be worse if somebody made a version of this, made a TV show or a movie that was just really bad. So I don't know, it kind of stresses me out now. I think that would be so much worse. So it would have to be a really ideal situation, and we're not really there yet. But trust me, if there's any news on that front, I will definitely let you know. Okay. Emily Grace wants to know, do we get to know the title of This Woven Kingdom Book 4 soon? Hopefully in a couple months, maybe? I'm not totally sure. But yes, I already know what the title is, and I'm excited to share it with you. Somebody who says, I want to stay anonymous, asks, the people need to know, how tall is Cyrus? He is very, 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 very tall. He is as tall as you want him to be. He's extremely tall. The tallest. They're all tall now. And he's described as like very tall in the books. So, you know, I just want you to know he's as tall as you need him to be. Hannah wants to know, what is your main source of inspiration? Are you inspired by real life situations, family or friends, the media, or something else entirely? I am inspired by all of that. I mean, I'm, you know, absolutely inspired by world events, personal chaos, emotional moments in my life or in the lives of others. I find other people really, really interesting. And I'm maybe interested in other people in their lives, like to the point of it confusing them. I don't know. I just find human beings really interesting. I'm the kind of person who will sit down with you and be like, how are you? And I really want to know the answer to that question. And so I don't know. I'm really, really interested in human beings. I'm interested in how they live and how they're, you know, what the emotional beats in their life are, and I'm inspired by them. I'm inspired by other human beings. I find are, you know, the psychology very, very interesting, and that's probably why. That's probably why I am so interested in character development in my books. Okay. Rebecca wants to know, what is your writing routine? How do you make sure you are writing enough while also attending to your everyday life, like spending time with your husband and kid? Well, it is very difficult. You know, it's interesting because every phase of motherhood, of like in your child's life, every phase is different and their needs are different. And so the balancing act is always a little bit different. When my daughter was very little, the demands on my time were tremendous, but different. And now she's older, but the demands on my time are still tremendous and yet different. I don't want to, you know, go off on a tangent here about motherhood and what it's like to raise a kid. I mean, everybody's experience is so, so different, but I just want to say that it's absolutely something that factors into my life, and I do think that becoming a parent was really interesting. It actually, I mean, for a million reasons, but it actually made me a more efficient writer because time became so important to me that I just sort of, I was always pretty organized, but I became very, very, very organized. And schedules became very important, and I'm very clear now with like my work-life balance. When it's time to like pick up my daughter from school, I stop working, and for as long as like we're together, that's my focus. And if I need extra time, usually what I do, especially when I'm drafting, I'll wake up really early in the morning, so I'll wake up at like 3 in the morning and I'll work until like 6 a.m. you know, or whenever it is that my daughter usually gets up, and then we do breakfast and, you know, get ready for school and that sort of thing. So I will usually steal time from my sleep in order to make that happen, which is, you know, not something I can do for a very long time, but it's something that helps me when I'm struggling for that balance, because it's very, very difficult for me to steal time from family. Like it's very important to me. I'm very, very protective about that time. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly. I think it's Ilona. I believe that's an I. Wants to know, do you listen to music while writing, and if so, what kind? I do not listen to music while I'm actively writing. I listen to music often when I'm thinking about characters or thinking about scenes, thinking about the plot. I like to be inspired by these, usually it's like sad boy music. My husband is constantly like, why are we listening to this in the car? Like, I'm just like sitting there, like looking out the window. It's like a beautiful sunny day, but in my mind, it's like raining and sad. And Ransom, my husband, he's such a positive, like upbeat, wonderful human being. And I'm always like, I just need to be like in this like emo space with these characters. So anyway, it's when I'm thinking about those things, I'll often listen to I listen to like sad music. Right now, there's this one song, I think it got popular on TikTok. It's called Beautiful Things. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I can't remember the guy's name. But I felt like that was felt like a very appropriate song for All This Twisted Glory, and also